this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, I saw this picture from the Paris Olympics of a young man crying, and I was curious about what he was crying about until I saw he had issued a warning to the American basketball team saying that you better watch out for what's coming next. It reminded me of when I was in high school and we had football games, and our football players would be thinking that they were going to beat a team, and then the team ended up beating them, and they would say, what? Just wait till next year. So this seemed like a just wait till next year moment. So I decided to do a video about this because crying over a loss means that it really meant a lot to you. And you can make the charge that I'll get you next year. And really, they might. But from what I read in this, the French team was really counting on this one player to carry the whole team. So if they're going to come back next year expecting one player to take on the American basketball team, a team of seasoned professional athletes who have been doing it for years, well, you better know what you're doing, because you might end up getting beat again, because the score was not that close. It was like 98-87. That's not a close score when it comes to a basketball game. So this is Victor Wembanyama. He is a French basketball player for the San Antonio Spurs of the National Basketball Association. He's considered one of the best basketball prospects of his generation. He was selected first overall by the Spurs in the 2023 NBA draft. At 7 feet 4 inches tall, he is one of the tallest active players in the NBA. So he came from France. He's not an American citizen, although, like the rest of them, he came to the United States to make some money. But for the Olympics, he played with his home team, which is the French. And they were hoping that he was going to come in and tear it up and beat the American team. Well, that didn't happen, and one of the most embarrassing moments for him was that he, at 7 feet 4 inches tall, has a long reach, and Steph Curry shot a 3-pointer over his head, over his reach. So I'm just saying that you just shouldn't speak too soon about who you might beat. Now here's the warning. Victor Wembanyama sends ominous warning after Paris Olympics. I guess there's no such thing as losing gracefully anymore. Now you got to add some bravado to your loss. Well, let's see what he says. A silver medal finish at the 2024 Paris Olympics may have been the ideal harbinger for Victor Wembanyama's, or whatever his name is, second NBA season, after his country, France, lost to Team USA in the gold medal game on Saturday night. Wemby issued a warning to all his future opponents. I'm learning, and I'm worried for the opponents in a couple of years, Wemby told reporters. Well, I mean, why would he be worried about his opponents? They probably won't be worried about you until you prove you can win. But they had put a lot of stock in him, and that's really unfair to him, because one person can win a game against 5 other people. I don't care how good he is. Well, I'll put it this way. It remains to be seen. When asked if he was referring to his opponents in FIBA competition or the NBA, Wemby responded, everywhere. The 20-year-old phenom scored a game-high 26 points and added 7 rebounds and 2 assists in the 98-87 defeat to Team USA. After the loss, Wemby was overcome with emotion, bursting into tears before being consoled by his French teammates and North American foes. Well, okay, so he took it hard. So he took the loss hard. Well, that's understandable. For the tournament, the 7-footer averaged 15.8 points, 9.7 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 2 steals, and 1.7 blocks, and was named as part of the Paris 2024 All-Star 5 alongside MVP LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Dennis Schroeder, and Nikola Jokic. So obviously this guy's a good player, but they had him all hyped up like he was the best in the business and that he, with some mediocre players, could take on 5 outstanding NBA players. And so his feelings were hurt and he let it show, which is a mistake. A man crying because he lost a game is nothing but fodder for men in the future to make fun of him. Now, they might not, because it's a serious game, and I'm sure they understand. But for an American to be crying, now they might let him get by because he's young and because he's not an American player. But if he was an American player and started just crying on the court where other people had to console him, I don't believe that Black American players would let him live that down. I mean, I think they would joke him. I think they would tease him about that for some. I don't believe he would ever live that down because Black Americans joke and tease each other too much. You can cry when you're in middle school and you might be able to get away with it in high school. Probably not, especially if you're supposed to be a good player. When they play in the NBA Finals or the NFL Super Bowl or something like that and they lose, well, then they'll go over usually and congratulate the winning team. And then they'll get with their girlfriend or their wife and then they go home. Maybe they cry once they get home. But they put up a good face in the public. And see, those Africans will be over there crying when those white folk be making fun of them on the soccer field, making all kinds of noise and things and talking about them, and then they'll cry. But then they're bad as hell when they're dealing with Black Americans. I don't know what the difference is, but they don't have a problem at all crying about stuff when they're out there playing on the field. And that's just almost not acceptable with Black American men. And the last time we saw an athlete crying in public over losing was Coco Gauff, the tennis player, and she was like 16 or 17 years old. But lately, when she loses, she's not crying. And honestly, there is nothing wrong with crying if you lose, if that's what you want to do. But the only reason I'm talking about it is that while he's crying, he's going to issue a warning to somebody like LeBron, to professional athletes, that in the future, I'm going to be bad as hell. Well, you might not be. And then you might have to cry again. That's the way I'm looking at it. Clearly, y'all see this is kind of amusing to me. But anyway, this guy this guy believed all of the hype about him. Now that Giannis guy, who is Nigerian, but he lived in Greece for a while, and he played with the Greek team. And he is really good. My husband said he is really good. But you don't get that kind of response from him either. Those African players in Europe, see, when they get out on the soccer field and those white folks start calling them names and things like that, they cry too. So I have been thinking about this before when I've seen those Africans out there crying. And I'm just going to say this, and I'm just going to throw it out there, for what it's worth. But when you live in the Western world and you're dealing with white people and you're involved in something like that and you cry, is seen as a sign of weakness. It might be human, but it's seen as weakness. And that's how come I think Black American men are not quick to do that. But anyway, let me know if I'm wrong and have a good evening.